Hi, I'm here with Ron Perriello and Ray Felix. Tonight we have Tom Sciacca, a legend in the comic book field, as our special guest. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Legend in my own mind. But in any case, hi guys.
How's it going, Tom?
Oh,
Hello from the Bronx.
Well, hi Ray. It's nice to see you. Wow, all the way in the Bronx, eh?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much sitting right next to each other, right? See
Yes,
there.
exactly.
Right.
But that's okay.
You ruined the illusion.
All right,
You
that's
put it
okay.
right on the screen.
I'm
That's
ruining the
okay.
illusion of TV, kids. Don't believe anything you see on TV, kids. I just want to tell you.
Yeah, that's
All right.
actually Ray's twin over there.
Exactly. Exactly. So anyhow, so here we are. So shoot some questions, guys, because we're waiting for pizza.
So, how did you get your start in the industry?
How did I get my start in the industry? Well, actually started when I was in grammar school. Believe it or not, I was a big comic book fan, obviously, but by I guess sixth grade, I switched from DC to Marvel because it was Marvel. Reading the Marvel comics, they're kind of like in the real world because Spider-Man was in Forest Hills, he was in Queens. You know, everyone else was in New York City. I mean, so there was like a semblance of reality there, whereas Superman, Batman, and they had all these like goofy things going on. If you look at the two books, the two companies in the '60s, it's like DC is kind of like its own universe, and it's kind of like goofy, and Marvel's the real world. But anyhow, so I was like reading the Fantastic Four, whatever, and I said, let me go send some sketches to Stan Lee. I got some ideas. So one of the things I did was, and my friend Ray Tessie, who is online, he's got he's involved with the Star Trek Continues, the fan production there, but he remembers I drew a character called Bugman, and he was like this like giant insect guy, like whatever. And I sent it to Stan, and then Stan sends me, which unfortunately I don't have the note anymore. It probably worth like hundreds of dollars. Well, thanks for your for stuff. It was a great idea. And then there's, I think it's issue 24 or something. They got the Infant Terrible, and it's like bug-looking creature on the cover of Fantastic Four, right? Wow. And it's like, oh shit, it's Bugman. So the basic idea of the look, he probably showed it to Jack and said, yeah, I could do something with this, and he made this this kind of like bug-looking guy. So that was like my first really connection. It's like, wow, I said something and they used it, like, oh, But then later on, I think 1968 was I think it was the first or second. Phil Seuling used to do these Comic Cons in New York. He was really the guy that invented the Comic Con. It was called the New York Comic Art Convention.
This is it, the second annual Mighty Marvel Convention on April 23rd, 24th, and 25th in New York City. This is Stan Lee talking, and you are there. Now, I'll shut up and give you a chance to see what was happening. We start off with me signing autographs after making a speech. Here we go.
Here I am. What's your... Liz up there. Here are the hands I did it. Here are the eyes and hands clearing. Okay.
Quite enough to carry the nation.
Are you thinking of a live Spider-Man series?
Oh, yes. Yes, we are.
And it was always over the July 4th weekend. So in 1968, I'd go with my dad. It was the Statler Hilton, which is now, is it the Statler Hilton? No, it's not the Statler. Now it's it's across from Madison Square Garden.
Penn Plaza,
I think it's Penn Plaza, whatever
Plaza,
it is now, Pennsylvania Hotel.
Pennsylvania
No.
Hotel.
Originally, it was called the Statler Hilton at that time, and so it was a big convention. So I went with my father, and my father, if you can imagine, Groucho Marx. That was my father. Because my father, they used to call him Groucho because he kind of looked like Groucho Marx, and he had a cigar and everything. So that's my dad. So we go in there, and so they had all the at that time the artists were and people getting like free sketches. It's like so it's like Jim Steranko was there, and he did a sketch for me, and actually I'm friends with him to this day.
Yeah, maybe you should explain who Jim Steranko was.
Jim Steranko. It's the pizza guy. Okay, so we're at the Statler Hilton. Statler Hilton in New York City, July 4th weekend, 1968. I'm there with my dad, also named Tom Sciacca, who looks like Groucho Marx. And so it's a comic convention. It's the first or second actual real comic convention ever held. And there were probably like 3,000 people there, but they had a couple. It was a dealer's room, and they had some, places for discussions, panels, whatever. And I met the Jim Steranko, of course, of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's done Captain America. He's still active today. I'm still friends with him today. I've actually worked for him. I did some writing for when he was publishing his magazine, the Media Scene, and I helped him out on that in the 80s. But he did there were all the artists were doing free sketches. Now it's like $150, but they were doing sketches for all the kids that lined up. So he did like a little Nick Fury sketch for me, and then Jack Kirby was there doing sketches, but there were like so many people around him. I was like stunned, like wow, all these people, Jack Kirby, like. But the Bill Everett was there, who also a Golden Age artist, and he did a Submariner sketch for me, which is somewhere in my files. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. Joe Orlando did a little quick sketch. Joe Orlando, who worked for EC and was a editor at DC, who I also ended up working with later on. My biggest memory from that particular show was that Phil Sullivan was selling a copy of Superman #1, which probably would be like a 7.0 today, for $100. I said, Dad, buy this. Oh, this is great. Superman #1. He goes, are you kidding? $100 for a comic book? What are you, crazy? So it's like, now it goes for like $1 million or something. But
$1 million.
Wow.
Dad in heaven, you're an idiot. But that's besides the point. But that was my first foray into meeting these people. So they were like, real flesh and blood, like people behind the names in the comic books. So they were like real. So the next year I went. Actually, it was 69 when I think I went on my own. I went there by myself, and so then I met some more people. Who I met was Frank Frazetta. Everyone knows who Frank Frazetta is, like the world's greatest like fantasy artist. And so he had like a room set up with paintings, whatever. And then so I was like 60, 69. I was like 13, 14, whatever. He goes, hey kid, he goes, listen, I need. Okay, you want to watch my paintings for a little bit? I've got to go out. I said, sure. And I was like, all right. Hey, Frank Frazetta. So I kind of hung out with him for a couple of hours, and he was going to do me. Then later he said he was going to do a sketch for me, right? He goes, I'll do a sketch for you because you were helping out. And his wife comes like, no, Ellie, no, you can't do a sketch for him. What are you crazy, Frank? Because she was selling sketches for him, whatever it was. So what he ended up doing was, and I still have it, had my artwork that I was showing artists. So I showed him my artwork. So he went and he signed my artwork on the top. Frank Frazetta, this big Frank Frazetta, like a really.
That's awesome.
So I have it framed at home, Frank Frazetta, But he goes, I'm sorry, she won't let me do a drawing, So unfortunately, but he was a very nice guy. He was another Brooklyn guy, another New York guy. So,
Did you cut the name out, or is it still attached to your artwork?
no, it's still attached to the artwork.
Oh.
No, it's like it's a whole thing there.
Thing, yeah.
The whole
The
thing.
story, yeah.
There's a story behind it.
So when's your memoir coming out?
I don't know. Actually, Joe Sitter said I should write a book, but
Shit.
so how did I start a comic business? So I would go to these comic conventions, every year. This is the July 4th thing. Okay. So then this is around the time I'm freshman in high school, whatever, and one of the who I meet in high school this freshman year is a guy you may have heard of if you read comics, George Perez, the George Perez,
Yeah, it's
Teen
awesome.
Titans, all that stuff. But he, we were both in high, so we were like the two like comic book nerds in the school. Cardinal Hayes High School in the Bronx, Catholic high school. Okay, like military school. So of course, naturally, we gravitated to each other, and we were like drawing stuff. But he was like way better than me. I mean, even at that time, he was almost like as good as he was when he was drawing comics. But we did stuff together. So my character, Astron Star Soldier.
Were you guys altar boys, or?
No. We didn't go for that. We both didn't go for the whole mass thing. We weren't like into that at all. But in any case, so the first Astron story, which we did in high school, I wrote it and drew it, and he inked it. And it was funny. We used to get these pads of paper, 8.5 by 11 paper, at Woolworths, and then we had flare pens, and this is what we did the first couple of things with. But naturally, we didn't print this. It was just stapled it together. Over the years, I've lost most of it, but I found the final page, which I have put up on Facebook with George inking it. So, and then later on, we did some fanzines. Well, actually, before that, I brought him to his first Comic-Con, I think the next year. I think it was in '70. So I brought him to the New York Comic-Con, and then I tried to be his agent. So we went to met some guys who were doing fanzines. Paul Levitz, he was like 13, and Paul Levitz said, "Oh, I have a friend of mine who's doing a fanzine, and there's a friend, Jim Glenn, who goes by the name T.J. Glenn. He's an actor now. I'm still friends with
You
him."
guys heard of Paul Levitz, right? He did like
Paul Levitz, the publisher of DC Comics.
Bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
President.
But at the time, he was doing a fanzine called The Comic Reader. So,
Yeah.
so so he introduced us to Jim Glenn, and Jim Glenn was doing a fanzine called Factors Unknown. So the first comic strip we did, I ended up writing it called Stranded. It was like a faux EC comic science fiction story about an astronaut stranded on this planet, and he meets like this beautiful girl, this hot, sexy chick, and then she turns out to be a monster and like kills him. It was like very original, very original. But but on that one, George penciled it, I inked it. So that was actually his first printed work, Factors Unknown #2. The next year, in Factors Unknown #3, which people sell for like a couple $100 on eBay. That one, I did a comic strip, which was kind of like a fake Thunderbirds. Remember the TV show Thunderbirds, but Thunderbirds are go. So it was kind of like with the little puppets. So I did kind of a knockoff of that, called 300 Fathoms Down or something, and it was about some plane crashing and these guys rescue it, So I penciled it, George inked it, and then he did another story called Death Squad, which was kind of almost like kind of Teen Titans and Doom Patrol put together. But the artwork was like, if you look at it now, it's like you can see, it's like, wow, this stuff is,
Raven Suicide.
gorgeous, but before Suicide Squad, right? Well,
So what inspired you? Where'd you get these ideas from to just
just our psychotic minds, watching TV. You know,